Okay, welcome to another video, and this time I'm going to talk about giants. Now you've all probably got a concept of what they are. Stories like Jack and the Beanstalk we were told as children. Look at a lot of the films like Transformers and things, you'll see giants there. And you look back through all ancient history, right around the world, you're going to find mention of giants. Let's take the biblical account. We've got description of Adam being almost 2 miles in height. That does sound incredible, I know. It took me a while to get my head around this one myself. You'll gradually find that there's a scaling down in size to these giants as we come forward in time to the present day. And yes, they do still exist. There are areas of the world that is densely forested. They're said to live in caves. The Solomon Islands, for example, there's one example of it. Reports of Japanese and US soldiers being wiped out where these 12 to 15 foot high giants ripped up tree trunks out the ground and were using them as bats, basically. The guns seem to have no effect on them. This and the description matches what all the American Indian tribes say about them. We're talking about giant, almost human looking beings, anything between 7 foot up to 30 foot skeletons being found, and further back in time even bigger than that, and they all share the same description, or seem to, of being red haired with a double row of teeth, 6 digits on each hand and on each foot, highly aggressive and cannibalistic. That message, that description comes over and over again repeatedly. It's consistent. Now there's evidence, there is clear evidence for you to see of these giants, and the sheer scale of them can be appreciated more fully than trying to picture it in your mind. I strongly recommend you have a look at Mudfossils University, which will also give you a breakdown about the proof of 100% human DNA. I believe through 3 DNA tests, one done by Harvard University, and of course 6 CAT scans. Now, on top of that, you have the YouTube channel Dictionary of Truth. I'm going to attempt to put a link to that in the description, and there you can see from, these aren't conspiracy theory photographs that have been assembled and collected. These are photographs taken by people on holiday who've just took your normal snaps, just totally innocently, but it's what's in the background, or that moment of, oh, look at that rock, it looks like an eagle. Well, it looks like an eagle because it was an eagle. Simple as that. Occam's razor, the simplest answer is always the truth. Now, the other day I happened to go into my local post office, commercial postcard. I'm going to try and, hopefully you can see this without the reflection. Machu Picchu in South America. I mean, if you look here, I mean, I'm not saying that it is, but it certainly looks to have a skull face in it. It looks roughly like a shape of a humanoid. If it was buried under a lot of debris, mud, we're talking about the flood here. There's something else in the background there. I mean, look at these steps as well. They're ginormous compared to people of today. It's also leading up to right in front of what appears to be a sort of humanoid being. So, I mean, you start looking at these things, you start seeing it all around the world. They clearly are shapes of giant beings, giant humans, giant animals, some of which still exist today. Turtles, whales, elephants. But we're talking colossal sizes here. But it's all relative in scale to today, except of course humans, if you go back to the early ones. And if you look at no trees on Earth, or no forests on Earth on YouTube, look for that one as well. There's your evidence of these giant trees which you would need to produce that amount of oxygen for these giant beings, and hence when you have the trees not cut down, you have a dramatic decrease in oxygen. So this is why you're only getting giants reported of being between 7 and 15 foot these days. They can't grow anywhere near as big as they did. Now science actually backs this up with experiments on slugs in laboratories being given higher amounts of oxygen, and they did grow to enormous sizes to compare to the ones that weren't given the high levels. So you've got evidence there. The scale of 30 to 1 comes out. 30 of me will equates to 180 foot, which is about the normal height of what we'd class as a large tree today. 30 of Adam, it's nearly 2 miles in height compared to the tree of knowledge, which is quoted as being 60 miles high. You've got the same height again. So it's the same scale, 30 to 1. It works with dragonflies, fossilised dragonflies compared to today. I mean, you imagine a dragonfly with a 6-foot wingspan. That's the same height as me. It's incredible to imagine. But when you start piecing all this together, it actually makes sense. It's there for you to see. You can believe as much or as little of what I'm saying. What I'm saying is just check these things out yourself. Have a look on YouTube at the Dictionary of Truth in particular. Look at No More Forests on Earth. It is clear for everyone to see there, as far as I'm concerned. You have got the physical evidence that cannot be hidden. And you think about all these ancient structures, they are gigantic in proportion. Why would they need to be gigantic? Just think about that. We've had people speculating over these things like the Cleopatra's Needle and how many people it would take to lift this thing up. I mean, yeah, at 6 foot tall, roughly, then it's going to take thousands of people. But a couple of giants of ginormous proportions, that ain't going to be a huge, great stone mass to try and lift up. That's just going to be like picking up a broom handle. Let's face it, on that scale. It's going to be no problem moving these things. I mean, how big is a stride of a 2-mile high giant? How much ground can he cover in a day compared to us? I mean, it all makes sense. If you start putting all this together, you'll see it's there. And you look around the world at all these ancient texts. You look at all the ancient architecture. Look at Egypt. Look at the size of some of these carvings in stone. Look at what they're showing. I don't believe they are exaggerations at all. They are depictions of what these beings look like in terms of scale as much as in appearance. It all actually makes sense. If you just forget all you've been taught about history and this bogus idea we're given, all this bullshit and lies we're given, and start seeing this with open eyes, look for yourself at the evidence, make your own mind up. This is an underlying message on any truth-seeking message from anybody out there. Everybody's saying the same thing. No one's saying you will listen to this, you will believe that. It's all, well, here's what I'm suggesting. You go away, you make your own mind up. You take as much of it that you want to believe or not believe. This is just the truth I'm seeing. Just giving my account of it, and I hope it's going to resonate and let you see things you may not even been aware of. I mean, let's face it. I mean, Red Rock in Australia, it's a tree stump. Who would even think it? But once you see it and you look at the evidence for it, it just makes so much sense. I mean, I've only looked into this since the start of the year. I stumbled across this by accident, and purely by the title, my curiosity was aroused, and I had to look in and find out more. And it blew my mind, which is why I feel I want to share this with you, because I know some of you seen it, some of you looked into it. When you're talking about the awakening, it's a vast subject. But anyway, that's it for this video. Again, there'll be more, and keep watching. More coming soon. Thanks very much.